There is a crazy new scam going on that is causing YouTubers to lose their channels because they are becoming convinced by a scammer that they need to delete their own YouTube channel. Yes, you heard that right. Now, you're probably sitting there asking yourself, how can a scammer convince someone to delete their own YouTube channel, especially if they have millions of subscribers, as some examples that I'm going to show you coming up? And why would a scammer even want to do that to begin with? Well, I'm going to break that down for you. I'm going to show you how the scam works, going to answer these questions. But if you think that this is not something that applies to you because you don't have a YouTube channel and you don't plan on having one in the future, that's actually not the case, because when I show you some of the red flags to look for this scam, I'm also going to show you some commonalities between that and other online scams that you can fall victim to, regardless of whether you have a YouTube channel or not. Now, I'm also going to show you some things that you can do and that can be done to reduce or prevent the chances that you fall victim to online scams in the future. But before I do that and go over the specific scam, let me first just give you a brief background, because I think that it's important in terms of just understanding the overall context here and one of the main take home points, which is that anyone could get scammed. Now, I have long had an interest in fighting against scammers. It's a topic that comes up on this channel within the context of the reselling community. But I also did a video once showing how I was scammed outside of the reselling community in a car moving scam. And the person who did it was arrested on federal charges and eventually passed away in prison. If you're interested, I'll link to it up top. Point being, it's something I've had a long time interest in. And being that, I've also shared on this channel that in addition to watching reselling YouTube videos, I love watching scam baiting YouTube videos. So it's a whole genre on YouTube. If you're not familiar with it, basically what it involves is people pretending that they are the victim of a scam. And meanwhile, they're actually turning the tables on the scammer. So they're wasting their time. They're putting them through all of these ridiculous and, for us, entertaining scenarios to watch. They're sometimes reversing the connection into the scammer's computer. And so they're doing things sometimes like deleting their files, or they're getting access to bank accounts where the scam money is going into, and they're turning that over to the authorities and all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, show you some slides. If you haven't seen any of these channels before, some that I follow and love, I mean, these are a few of my favorites here. One would be Pierogi from A Scammer Payback, highly recommended, almost at 1 million subscribers. Then there's Kit Boga, almost at 2 million subscribers. He's terrific as well. But the godfather of them all is none other than Jim Browning. Now, unlike Kit Boga and Pierogi from Scammer Payback, whose faces you could see here, you don't see a face here for Jim Browning's channel. And the reason for that is that Jim has always remained anonymous in that he doesn't show his face. In fact, Jim Browning's not even his real name. But if you go to his channel, what you would see is this icon there that says tech support. And one of the main reasons that Jim is an icon, besides that he's been doing this for 7 years, and he has done some revolutionary things. One of the things that he did in this video series here called Spying on the Scammers is he actually broke into the closed circuit televisions and the cameras that these scammers had, and he's actually spying on them. And he was doing it while he was talking to them on the phone. So he actually, got into one of these call centers, and he put together this whole big video series showing how this whole thing works, and getting an actual visual on it, which had never been done before. And so it resulted in a lot of arrests and all sorts of stuff. So long story short, it's a channel I go to, and I like watching the content. And then one day the channel doesn't exist anymore. Now, keep in mind that Jim had over 3 million subscribers. And then all of a sudden it doesn't exist. Now, eventually what wound up getting put in its place is a channel of someone else named Jim Browning, and this is not the actual Jim Browning, because as I said, Jim Browning doesn't show his face. And as you can see here, it says, only 288 subscribers, but that was what was in its place after it said channel doesn't exist. And then it started to look like it was coming back. And the problem, though, is it's not, you can see there, it says 3.3 million subscribers, but then it says the channel has no videos. So it just basically had a banner, but no videos on it. So what exactly happened? Well, people were wondering, people were speculating, and then Jim put out a tweet and read to you verbatim what it says. This is on July 26th. So to prove that anyone can be scammed, I was convinced to delete my YouTube channel because I was convinced I was talking to YouTube creator support. I never lost control of the channel, but the sneaky bleep managed to get me to delete the channel. Hope to recover soon. And when this happened, I mean, people were blown away because, like I said, Jim's the godfather of the scam baiters, and no one ever thought that that would happen. But again, it just goes to show that, as he said, this can happen to anybody if the circumstances are right. So let's break down what happened. Jim shared a screenshot early on about some parts of the scam. This is part of what was shown here. And what I want, and we're going to break this down into specifics, but what I want you to notice, I have this big red arrow to it, is on the top of the page where it says YouTube support. And then underneath it says YouTube at creatorpartners.com. Again, we're going to blow it up in a second, but then you'll see there's messages underneath, which again, we'll zoom in on that in a second. But my point right now is that what the scammer is banking on right here, and this is common to other scams, not just this one, they're hoping that you divert your eyes from up top where it says where it's being sent from to the actual message. And that's what a lot of people do. They want to just see, what does the message actually say, and read that. And it's very much an analogy to what I talk about in the reselling when we go out on treasure hunts. And I tell you, don't just walk right by a closet when you're walking into a front door. Don't, in prior video, don't just walk by a vestibule while there's books there that are worth hundreds of dollars. People have tunnel vision, and they just tend to do that over and over and over. It's a common theme that's shown up in my videos, but it happens in other areas of life, not just in treasure hunting. And this is a great example. And this is really important because if this wasn't looked over initially, it could have prevented everything that wound up happening. So what you see there is it says YouTube support. And again, there's that address, creator-partners.com. Well, first of all, YouTube support is not what it's called. It's called YouTube help if you went over to it. But the creator-partners.com, that's odd because that's not saying google.com. It's not saying youtube.com. That's just something strange. That's like a weird domain name. But again, they're hoping that you're going to look past that. Now, if you're not familiar, you can go to the Whois database, which basically is a registry that lets you know when websites were created and when they're going to expire and that sort of stuff. And all you do, just go to Google, type in Whois search. You can type in the address and you can find information about it. And what you could see here, I have it underlined in red, is that the creation date was on June 27th, 2021. Now, that would obviously be very odd if this was actually YouTube or if it was Google, because they were obviously created long before a couple of weeks ago, right? So this is, this particular domain is really pretty new. Now let's look at some other red flags about the message. Okay, so first of all, I have a bunch of different arrows. You'll see here, it says hi. The original message says hi, but when YouTube actually messages you, okay, they're going to put in the name of your channel, which for me, this is literally, I actually took that out from a message I got from YouTube. They're going to put your name in there. And the reason why there is no name in there is because these scammers are using a form that they're just cutting and pasting, and they are too lazy. They're too lazy to actually customize it. So that's red flag number one. Okay. Number two is there's improper sentence flow. So look at the first sentence. It says, please note that we have noticed that you have a duplicate AdSense account. And as a result, now look at that. As a result, now it should continue. There's room for it to continue, but it says we will permanently suspend your YouTube account. So it's improper sentence flow. That should just continue on, say we will permanently suspend your YouTube account. Now, the reason why the scammers did that is because they want that part on a separate line. They want that to jump out to you so you see we will permanently suspend your YouTube account. And they're hoping that they could prey on the emotions of you, so that you basically get so riled up when you see that that you ignore that there's an improper sentence flow. Now, if you're wondering about Google AdSense, Google AdSense is basically the way that Google will and YouTube partnering with Google. If you don't know, Google owns YouTube. That when you see these ads pop up, like in this video and other videos, we get paid through Google AdSense if you're monetized. So obviously, that's very important for people who have YouTube channels. You don't want to lose your account, and you don't want anything to go wrong with AdSense. But I've been part of AdSense for a long time, even way before I even had a YouTube channel for my medical website, medfriendly.com. And I know that the S in AdSense is supposed to be capitalized. Now, by the way, it's very easy for me to sit here after the fact and dissect this. Okay. So I'm not, I'm not blaming Jim or anything like that. I'm just saying these are some red flags now that you could look at and see in the future if anything like this ever pops up. But the S is lowercase, and it shouldn't be. The S should be uppercase. And a lot of these types of messages, you will see improper spelling and you'll see improper grammar. Now, here, there's no ending punctuation on that sentence over there. We are waiting for your reply. Typically, there would be. In fact, they only have one. Period right over here. So those are some red flags right there. Now, another red flag is that they're using the Google icon, yet they're referencing themselves as YouTube support. And they're basically preying on the fact that you're going to think about that association between Google and YouTube, and you're basically not going to think about it. And it also relates to something else I'm going to show you in a moment. But those two things shouldn't mismatch. Okay. When YouTube sends messages to you and it says YouTube, that should have a YouTube icon next to it. So those things, that's another thing that is odd. Now, this part of stuff I'm going to show you comes from a video that Jim Browning just released today. I'm going to link to it in the description section of the video here. So if you want to go see the whole thing, I'm just going to show some screenshots. But this is the thing right here. This is really, really, really important, because this is what wound up ultimately getting Jim ensnared in this, and other people, which we'll go over too. This isn't just about Jim. You see here, what they wanted you to do is they wanted you to open up a chat window. So it's might be hard to read, but it says, please reply to us by clicking on try chat to contact us if you believe it was the result of unintended behavior. We're waiting for your reply. So they're open, you get worried, you click on this chat button. If you're not familiar, Google does have a thing, Google Chat, and you could open it up and you could just use it as like a instant messaging service. Look up top, right? Chat-no reply at google.com. Typically, what is usually the giveaway for us to catch scammers is that what comes after that @ symbol is usually some bogus domain, something weird. Now, sometimes they'll do things like they'll change the O for a 0. They'll try to make it look similar. But if you really look, it's really easy to figure out. But when it says google.com, that could really trip people up. And that's what's tripping people up here. And the reason why it says google.com, which is legitimate that it says google.com, is because it's a Google product. It's Google Chat. And so they are they could put anything they want in front of that google.com address. Just like in Gmail, if you have a Gmail account, I'm primetimetreasure@gmail.com. That doesn't mean I represent Gmail, but they changed their name to be something that looks like it's coming from YouTube because they put that before the google.com thing. And if you hover over, as Jim did, he hovered over the link because it'll bring the link up, and you can see it says chat.google.com. And that's because a scammer is using a legitimate Google product to trick people and ensnare people into making them believe that this is all legitimate. Now you can see that Jim does ask some questions. He says, "Can you give me some details of the duplicate accounts? As far as I'm aware, I only have one account. How do I see if they're duplicates?" But this is another trick of scammers, and I've seen this a lot by watching Kit Boga and Jim and Scammer Payback's channel. Is that sometimes they just ignore what you're asking, and they don't answer, and they just tell you what they want you to do. And they say here, what they want you to do is we're going to create a brand account within your YouTube account. So basically, they're saying we're going to create a separate account. We're going to transfer the channel. We're going to delete the duplicate account before your account is permanently suspended. And so basically, what they're saying, they're going to duplicate the account to get everything moved over so that then they could remove this extra AdSense account and like clear out the association with it with the existing account. So then they tell you, and now, see here, it looks like you're talking to YouTube support. They tell you some legitimate things that you could do if you wanted to get your channel moved and get it replaced and get it deleted. So now they're sending you actual real YouTube links. So once you get to this point, if you're caught into it now you're actually believing, wow, this is actually a real thing. And you can see, I'm not showing everything. If go to Jim's video, I'll link to it. In fact, I'll link to it up top. But you'll see the entire conversation. I'm just showing some snippets of it here. But he asked, like, is this going to mess things up? Like my subscribers, my channel friendly name. And you could see the scammer saying, nope, you'll be fine. Your channel and your videos won't be affected. So after you create the new brand account, let us know. And then they send him additional instructions on what he needs to do to further this process along. Go to advanced settings and then tap move channel to your Google account or another brand. Now, here's where there's a problem with Google. Not Google, sorry. There's a problem with YouTube. Okay. If you look at the messages that YouTube is giving you during this process, it's telling you, and I know it's hard to read, it's a little bit blurry, but it says you can move your channel, including its videos. So it's indicating that you're going to, if you want to make this move, that your videos are going to come along in the process, right? I mean, that's what it says. That's what it says. So now go over to the next step. And I know you can't read this too well, which is why I actually typed out to the right what it says to the left. It does tell you some things that will be permanently deleted if you make this move. So let's look at what it says. Comments that you made on YouTube. Okay. Your replies and thumbs up on comments. All right. And your search and watch history. Okay. What does it not say is going to be moved over? Because you can see up here, it says 3,300,000 subscribers, 170 videos, and 3 playlists. It does not say that those things are going to be removed. So in Jim's defense, he's looking at this and he's saying, okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to lose my videos. Doesn't look like I'm going to lose my subscribers. Now, he clicks, I understand and wish to proceed, and that pops up this button here below that red arrow, which says delete channel. And this is just for every YouTuber watching this. And if you're watching this and you have a favorite YouTuber, please send this to them because we need to get this out to as many YouTubers as possible. And I know Jim has a big following and everything, but there's going to be people who watch this channel who never heard of the scam baiting channel. So I don't want anyone like Jim Browning going down in the reselling community is the equivalent of Craigslist Hunter going down. Like that's what it's like. Okay. So that'd be, crazy. So don't ever hit any button ever that says delete channel if you don't really want your channel to be deleted, because that's what's going to happen. Now it does, after you do that, it says, are you sure? Do you want to move and update your channel? And now you can see the button says move channel. So it went from delete to now move. So you feel like, okay, I'm now moving it again. And here's what happens once you do that step. In reality, once you click that button, your old channel has now been replaced with a blank channel. That's what happens. A blank channel. The scammer then asks you to replace the original channel with the contents of the new one, which doesn't have anything on it. And once you click replace, everything is gone. You see there? I have that red arrow. There's a button that says replace. Everything's everything's gone. Sorry, this is the point where everything's gone. Is once you hit replace. That's what's going to happen. That's crazy. So everything right there, once Jim hit that, and he did hit it, he lost everything. And you might think like, okay, is that the scam right there? That the scammer just caused someone to delete the channel? No, no, no. That's just the warm up phase. That's just the warm up. Because what they really are looking for here, and there's actually kind of two things they're looking for, but they're really trying to see ideally if they could get access to your AdSense account. So they send you a Google Forms link. And if you watch my channel and you watch the thrift battles, you're familiar with Google Forms because I send you Google Form links. That's how you go and vote. But there's lots of things you could do with Google Forms, including creating forms that people will enter all sorts of information into. And you could see they're asking for things like your full name, your publisher ID, they're asking for your email address, and they're asking, which is the biggest red flag, is your password. Never, ever, ever enter your password into any online form or in response to any email asking you for it. Those things are scams. And once they did this to Jim knew, okay, that's it. This is a scam. And now, and he, again, go to his video. He'll go over in much more detail than I will exactly the whole interchange. But you can see here's the point where he says, you don't seriously expect people to type their passwords into a Google form. And once you start challenging the scammers, again, this is a theme that comes up with the other scam baits that I've watched. They start to get defensive and they start to try to put pressure on you and they get upset and they try to, move you along and, get a little bit, threatening sometimes very threatening. And here it says, if your account is not verified, we will delete the channel from our records. So they're really trying to get you to give them that information so that they could get access to that AdSense account and get some of the revenue. So Jim tells them, hey, listen, I'm recording all this and now you're going to have to prove who you are. And so how do I verify you? And here they slip up. And this is what will often happen. Once they start getting off script, they'll start slipping up. They say, contact us at google@support-youtube.com. So they left off the E. Now, real YouTube person would never leave off the E. So there you go right there. You know that that's a red flag. So now the person is busted. He knows he's busted, the scammer, and says, well, since you revealed me at the last moment, I moved your channel to a new brand account that belongs to me. You linked a deleted channel to your account. Jim says, well, you don't really own the account because Jim still does own it. And now the guy says, well, okay, so if he can't get the main thing he wants to get is the AdSense account. But if he can't get that, then what he says is he tries to get you to send $100 via PayPal. So they're hoping to catch enough people into this to get them worried and try to convince them that once they've scanned them that, well, okay, we'll give you what you want back, but you got to send us the money. And in reality, if you wind up sending the money, you're not going to get your channel back. This is not who you want to talk to. You need to talk to official Google support, not these clowns. Okay. So Jim did ask for a screenshot about how much money they make, and this is what the scammer sent, which I don't believe. I don't believe this is real. They're liars, and I think this is just fake that they put up there. They probably stole this from somebody else. Because if really they were bringing in this kind of revenue, I don't think they'd be asking for $100. You can see there it says $16,000 in 28 days. No way. They wouldn't be asking for $100 on PayPal. Okay, so at first I thought when I first heard this, right, I said to myself, and this is before I knew all this detail. When I just saw Jim's tweet, my initial reaction was, "Holy crap!" They went after Jim because Jim's, like I said earlier, and that's why I want to give you the context. He's taking down scammers left and right. I mean, he's exposing them. People are going to jail. He's interfering with their operations, and they're probably upset. And I figured that this was a targeted attack towards Jim to take his channel down. But It's actually not the case. The person who's scamming Jim actually seems to have had, if you watch his video, seems to have had no idea who he was even dealing with. That wasn't targeted towards him. And then, and this is where I wasn't even gonna make a video just about Jim, but then when I found out that this was broader than this and gonna affect other people, I learned that there's another channel, and this is a guy, it's not a scam baiting channel, but he does talk about in his video about this that, he is alert to scams. You know, he knows about them. He normally catches them, but that particular day he was really tired. He wasn't thinking properly, and he got caught up with that Google.com thing. The name is now Psyched Substance. That wasn't the original. I think it was Psych Substance. And you can see here, this guy has over 2 million subscribers. And you can see there, it says the channel does not exist. And while his channel is somewhat back, it doesn't have exactly the same name. He can't put comments in, at least at the last time I watched. And it's not the same. I mean, it's back kind of, but it's not totally how it was. It doesn't look like it's official anymore. Like it doesn't have the check mark. So there's like a lot of things that are not still quite right. Like this is a big time waster to deal with. But you can see the video is called "How Our YouTube Got Hacked and Deleted Yesterday." And so you go in there and you could see exactly what happened to him in that particular situation. Now, one thing I just want to tell you about it, I won't go over the whole details in his particular story, but he wound up saving himself in a sense in that he did get to the part where he got to the form and he gave them the password. But then when it clicked to him that this was a scam, because he's getting notifications on his phone like, do you really want to change your password and stuff? Because then they're asking him to change it, and he's like, well, if I change it, if I give you access to change it, like the scammers wanted to change the password, and he's like, if I give you the password, how am I going to get in? Like that doesn't make any sense. And then they tried to convince him, oh no, that's not really what's going to happen. See, then they start lying to you, and they try to make you just kind of blindly follow them. But what he did, he realized that it was a scam, and he went in and he changed his password himself because he had already given it over. So this is one tip. If you get caught up in this and you accidentally give your password over, even after I told you all this, quickly go in and change it to something new. And obviously then don't give that password back, because that's the only thing that saved this particular channel from suffering from even more drastic damage. But then after I saw this, I saw another channel with over 2 million views, not 2 million, 2 million subscribers, Some Ordinary Gamers, um, nearly lost his account from the same scam. You can see here, he said, I almost had my YouTube channel stolen and deleted. And this is, again, similar type of message that he got. Now you could see here, when they sent him the message, they didn't even capitalize the Y and the T in YouTube. So it was maybe it could be a different person carrying out the same scam, or they're a little inconsistent with how they do that. But that's even more of a red flag right there. And you could see there they're using that chat dash no reply at google.com. He described the same thing, that he got tricked initially when it said google.com. That's the thing that tripped up all of these individuals so far that have gotten caught up in this. But here's another thing to know. When he went into, this is Mudahar and he's the guy who runs the gamer channel I just talked about. When you go into that Google chat, you could see who it is you're talking to at that point, and you could look, and right down below, you'll see right here, it'll say the domain is creator.partners.com. That's the one I was talking about before. When he saw that, he knew that was off. That was not right. And so what he did, and this is another piece of advice, if you doubt any messages that you're getting, please send a message to Team YouTube and send them screenshots, tag them, show them what you're receiving, put it up there so everyone could see. And you could see they responded, thanks for bringing this to our attention. We're taking a look at the screenshots you shared and get back to you as soon as we know more. Appreciate your patience in the meantime. And then they verified for him that this was a scam. So he fortunately, but he describes like he was on the fence. He was 50-50 that he was going to fall for this. Again, these are experienced people. Like Mudahar, he loves Jim Browning. He follows Kip Boga. Like so he's familiar with all this stuff. And that's one of the main take home points. Anyone can get scammed depending on the circumstances. Jim will tell you in his video about the circumstances that led him to get caught up in this, but can happen to anybody. It's easy for anyone to look at it afterwards and say, "Oh, I can't believe you fell for it," but it can happen to anyone. Be suspicious of those google.com emails, okay? Or email addresses, I should say, okay? Be careful with that. I told you why those exist. That doesn't mean that it's legitimately someone from Google. Just like anyone from Gmail, with a Gmail address, doesn't mean they work for Gmail. Double check and ask questions. Double check and ask questions. As many as you need to ask to be comfortable. Don't make major decisions without taking your time. Don't feel pressured. Don't feel like you're rushed. You have to make a decision, because that's some of the things they do. They say, we have another, like, the second channel I was talking to you about, the psych substance. Like, they were telling him, like, if you don't hurry up, like, we've got to move on to the next person, or we're going to delete your account. Like, we have other creators that we need to be working with right now. So you gotta give us the information quick. Real YouTube is not going to talk to you like that. Okay, so if they're talking to you rudely or nasty, and a lot of scammers will do that, take that approach, that's another red flag. You're dealing with a scammer. This is the biggest one, okay? Because I haven't even done a video on this. I fell victim to identity theft. Fortunately, I caught it and prevented it from becoming a major thing really early. But ever since then, I use two-step authentication on everything, including YouTube. I use it on Amazon. I use it on my phone, like Verizon, which is where the identity theft thing happened. I mean, all over the place. Anywhere you could use two-step authentication. So what basically that means is that if they're going to try to change your password, you're going to get an alert sent to your phone. And Jim said if he would have had that on, that probably would have prevented this. That probably would have been another thing that would have, like, stopped things dead in its tracks right there. So that's important. It's a must. Please, 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 if you have a YouTube channel, and even if you don't, if you're outside of YouTube, whatever you're dealing with that's important to you with passwords, use two-step authentication. Most places have it set up. It's a minor annoyance that you are going to get used to, and it's definitely worth it. YouTubers, be careful of sponsor links. You are going to get sponsor emails, and a lot of them are phishing scams, not phishing like F, but PHISHING, where they're trying to pretend that there's someone else and steal your information. So be very, very careful what links you are clicking on. Sometimes just the click of a link could be enough to ruin you. So always hover over it. For example, make sure it's going to where it's supposed to go. That's one thing to try. Do not share passwords, and don't let anyone remote into your computer. Do not do that. Once they remote into your computer, they could do all sorts of things. They could blacken your screen, and they could steal all sorts of information from you. It's horrible. They could put all sorts of viruses on your computer, delete files. It's a mess. Do not let anyone remote into your computer unless, like, it's someone like a family member who you know and trust, and you're 100%, or like, the only one I would ever let remote into my computer is my employer. That's it. So you got to be 100%. As we talked about, contact Team YouTube on Twitter if you have a problem, which reminds me, make sure you have a Twitter account linked to your brand if you have a YouTube channel. I have one. I don't actively use it, but it's there if I need it. So it's the link to it's in the description section. I might do something with it at some point, but at least I have it. So if I need to reach out, worst case scenario, like Psych Substance did, you can just automatically then just go and create one account. If you get scammed like this, reach out to YouTube, and if you could prove who you are, they'll interact with you that way. But it's just easier if you have something set up that's clearly established. Another thing that has helped is contact YouTube influencers to help you out. That helps Psych Substance out, for example. A lot of YouTubers will start rallying together. It doesn't matter what genre you're in. We're all in different genres, but we all share, a brotherhood and a sisterhood together, in doing YouTube. And we all know how hard it is to put these channels together, put these videos together. And when someone deletes it, through a scam, everyone's going to come rally together and try to help you out. So reach out to people for help. Now, as I mentioned earlier or alluded to, YouTube really needs to do a better job educating people about this type of scam and warn people ahead of time that videos, subscribers will be deleted if you actually press those buttons. You can't make it look like it's going to be an innocent thing. Okay. That it definitely needs to be something more on YouTube's end to help out with that. Also, report suspicious web domains to the web hosting company. Jim already did this. This place was hosted by DreamHost. You could see that on the Whois account. But if you want to report it as well, you could go to it and the website, and you could report them for what they did in this case. Jim hasn't heard anything back from them, but I am happy to say, this is our last slide, that Jim is slowly getting his channel back. So please go over there, subscribe to Jim, subscribe to Scammer Payback, subscribe to Kip Boga. I'm going to put all their links down below in the description section. And, tell Jim you're new. Tell him you came over from this channel. I'm a big fan of his, like I said, and all the other guys. And, hopefully this video just, again, helps get the message out and helps reduce the chances that other people out there are going to get scammed in the future. So please put your comments down below. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. And please pass it on to somebody else. Pass it on to your favorite YouTuber so they don't get caught up with this. Last point, if you think this is only something that's happening to people with millions of subscribers and it's not going to apply to like people in the reselling community or genres with smaller subscriber bases, that's actually not the case, because one of the things that Mudahar mentioned is that he had another account that was like brand new, and this type of message was sent over to that. So these things are going to, and this seems like it's new, it's just starting. These things are going to start percolating. They're going to be out there more. Definitely be on the lookout for it, and be on guard, especially, by the way, if you have YouTubers that you follow who are older and not as tech savvy. Yes, there are YouTubers who are not tech savvy. They could easily get caught up in this. So make sure that we get the message spread out there and prevent anyone else from getting their channels deleted. With that, everyone, I'm signing off. I'll see you back at the next one, everyone. Take care.